العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So those of you who have the book, I'll just read the dua from the book, and this is a dua that usually is read. Habib Maryam, here in Tarim, and Habib Mashur, and a lot of them, they will do this set of du'as. So it's quite lengthy. Right, so I have placed it in the book. Right, so inshallah, I've just printed out 20 more copies, and for those who don't have the book. Right, so I will bring it next year. Inshallah. I think I have to print out more because the Bizet girls also are asking for it. No, I think I have to print out more. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه في كل وقت ابدا عدد نعم الله الظالم. اللهم اتنا من لدنك رحمه وعلمنا من لدنك علما سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انك انت العليم الحكيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نوعنا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والافاده والاستفاده والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنه رسوله صلى الله عليه واله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء الى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني مشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني مشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني مشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أمرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف نجيك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. كمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه ونقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبل وما بعد فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم واخرجنا من ظلمات الفهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقادير الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله. يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخير الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم وغير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. Sarah, you can get the PDF of the book from, I think, Hazami. Hazami has a PDF of the book. Okay, so you can share the PDF. If Hazami has it, I think Fiza also has it. If I'm not wrong, Fiza, Hazami, Helwa, a few of them have the PDF of the book. Okay, then you can share it lah if you have the PDF. Okay, Bismillah. Sorry, talking to the people online. So they're sharing. I hope that they can share the PDF. I forgot to pass them the PDF so they can do a screen sharing or where we are in the book. But later I will pass them this one. So inshallah, we're going to continue our class, inshallah, on Aqidatul Mujmala, which is a general creed by Imam al-Haddad. Right, so creed meaning the Aqidah. Right, the Aqidah meaning our belief system as Muslims. Right, so inshallah, I will have to schedule this class and see what time is best because I had this class for the Mudarrisah now. Right, so I'm going to see what we can do. Yeah, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go for that one. I think I have to do it during school time because this class is meant for the mothers. So it's easiest for mothers to come when kids are in school. Right. So it's meant for the mothers, this class, right? Yeah, inshallah. So this I'm trying to aim it during school timing. Right, it's a bit hard right now, inshallah. But inshallah, it's also going to be in Khala's house because house is ground floor, easier. Right, right. No, not right. Second floor. Okay, that's it easier lah. Right. It's just next block, is it? Next block, inshallah.
The same house,
Not this block. The next, but behind Darul Zahra. Behind Darul Zahra. Al-Muhim near Darul Zahra. It has to be near Darul Zahra. Inshallah. Okay. So the last time round, we have begun. We have begun this book. I think in January, if I'm not wrong. So there's quite a number of lessons that we've gone through, right? And if, as far as I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? We have reached the statement. Well, وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. Are we there? Do you remember? Are we there? Okay, tamam. We stop there. Oh, be Islamic. Oh, be Islam Medina. So we're there. Be Islam Medina. Okay, mashallah. I thought you went further. Mashallah. So this classes, right? I'm not trying to. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam nabiyya wa rasulana. I think we went into that, right? So inshallah, one of the intentions that I meet for myself in these classes, right, is that I don't want to rush through the book. I'm not trying to rush through it. As you know, because usually when I teach this, I will try to catch a syllabus, right? So I tend to go quickly right through it. But I think, you know, just for the intention of it, of people internalizing, you know, what we're seeing here, and also for the need of opening up of what's happening in society right now with regards to Aqidah, with regards to belief system. Right? Because it's said by our Prophet ﷺ, right, towards the end of time, right, a person will come to the morning a believer and come to the evening a disbeliever. Or they might come to the evening as a believer and come to the morning as a disbeliever. Right? They will trade their religion for some measly gain of this dunya. And towards the end of time, you will see this. And we have seen in Sadaqah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke the truth in his prophecy. So it will happen, it will happen. You cannot stop it from happening. Because he has said it. He has said it. It will happen. Right? In a matter of 24 hours, people lose their faith like that. Right? So no one can say, no, how do we stop it from happening? You know, it will happen. It is the prophecy. It will happen. Right? But he said, you know, and that many of them will fall into this. Right? So when we learn, you know, this, we learn how to be of those few, and our families, inshallah, our people, inshallah, of those few who are able to build a fortress around their aqidah. That it does not, you know, it is not exposed, right, to the attacks of the time. The zaman will attack. The time will attack, right, people in their aqidah. And it's happened. It is happening right now all around us. It's happening everywhere you go. You know, all over the world. Whether it's in Asia, whether it's in the West, whether it's in, you know, India, wherever it's, you go all over the world, you find people, and you can go on the internet to see it. By what it just makes you very, very sad, very disturbed by what is going on the internet, of people who leave Islam. Right? They have left Islam, and that is the as you mentioned in the beginning of these classes, that is the goal of Shaitan, the hadaf. Right? The goal of Shaitan is this. Right? Because Shaitan, he's not stupid. Right? Shaitan knows that Allah is all merciful. So for as long as someone dies with the shahada, la ilaha illallah, right, that person, there's a possibility of that person being forgiven in the hereafter and entering paradise. And that's not what he wants. Shaitan's not, that's not what he wants. He doesn't want you to spend a few years in the hellfire. Right? He wants, you know, people to spend eternity in the hellfire. And the only way to get them to be forever in the hellfire is to get them to leave la ilaha. That's the only way. So Shaitan is not content with sin. Sin is a path to leaving Islam. It's a path, right? But he's not going to leave you on your sin like that. But he brings you to sin. He brings a human being to sin, to ma'asiyah, to sin, right? Because of the eventual goal of getting them out of Islam. That's it. Right? And you will see again and again and again and again and again and again, people who have left Islam, it all begins with sinning. They actually begin with sin. Right? And then they leave Islam. Some sins on the outward, on the body, some sins on the inward, the heart. Right? And especially when there is, you know, shak, there is doubt, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, mashallah, yesterday Habba Aisha was telling the story about, you know, in the time of the communists in Tarim, right, whereby they would, you know, shackle, you know, some of the habaib of the scholars in their necks, right? And they would tie the shackles to the end of a car. Right, and they would drive the car and drag the scholars of Islam on the streets of Tarim. How they were so evil. Right, the communists in the time of back then, a few years in the 60s. It was in the 60s it happened in Hadramaut. Right, so and that was to make people, right, leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. because the communists, they don't believe in a God. They remove religion, but they see religion as authority. Of course, you want to live your life, you must have authority. Right? You can't live life without authority. There has to be authority. Right? Allah is our authority. Allah tells us what is right and what is wrong. And you have to. Otherwise, human beings end up doing all kinds of nonsense. And they will justify. As you can see clearly, in the time of Rasulullah, they justified killing baby girls. And it was seen to be chivalrous, it was seen to be manly to kill baby girls. That's how sick a human being can be. That they make it something as noble, that you buried your daughter alive. Right? That was what they were thinking in that time. And a lot of men were compelled to do it. They don't want to do it, but they're compelled to, because society looks at them and sees them as low if they have girls. How sick human beings can be. Can be really sick human beings. So that's why you need a creator, and Allah, right? You need God to tell you what's right and what's wrong, because the nafs is worse than 70 shaitan. Right? It can make human beings do the most atrocious things and make it seem to be righteous. Right? So they did that to make people disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying, look at this Habib, look at this Sheikh, right? He's so righteous, he prays, he fasts, he gives charity, and so on. And yet, he's, like the God that you worship, let this happen to him. Have his skin and his flesh pulling out of his body and so on. That's how they want people to think. And that's what's happening right now. And look at Palestine, look at Syria, look at this, look at that. And where is God? And that's how they would exclaim. And people now they're saying that, and I've met Muslims, right, who have left Islam, and that was the main reason, right? The injustice in the world. They saw the injustice in the world. So it's from an angle of righteousness that they hold in themselves, and they place above Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if they are more righteous than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the disease is so deep. Right, that this is how shaitan works. Shaitan makes corruption righteous. It's Dajjal, of course. Dajjal, shaitan, they all work together. Right? They make corrupt, like really, really the deep corruption. It becomes noble, righteous. I had one student, whereby they have this thing that's called the pansexual. They're keeping up with the terms right now. What's going on now? They have the homosexual, they have the bisexual, they have the transsexual, now they have a pansexual. And like, what pen? They have all kinds of things going on now. And why I'm bringing all these things in, because when you go to your countries, right, you might be facing all these, words. And what in the world? Right, no, male, female, khalas, stop this nonsense. Right, so much going on, in our society. But in a sense, she was saying that it's a she, and it's born a she, right? She was saying that this apparently this form of sexuality, right? You love people's character regardless of gender. So there's not a question of gender in the discussion at all with regards to marriage. Gender is irrelevant. Going on right now, right? So because when I love someone, I love their character. See how they make it sound so righteous? Don't judge me by my gender, judge me by my character. Right? It sounds righteous, right? Right? As if I'm saying, don't judge me by my race, you're racist. Or now you're like all this, gender stuff. No, judge people by their character. Why am I judging by my race? So now they have extended something that is noble. So you don't judge someone by their race, right? So you marry someone because they're righteous, in the hadith, not because of their nasab or their wealth or their whatever, but their deen, their religion, right? So when someone says, oh, don't marry that person, they are from a different race. So people will be like, no, that's not righteous. You don't judge someone by their race. So now they have extended it to gender. Okay, now wait. Whoa. Right? No. You can't say that. And they will argue, why not? Because when I love my husband, yes, I love him because his character, matches mine. Right? There's a match. And I get along with him, we have the same views, whatsoever. There's love there. Right? But Allah has set the law. And Allah said only marriage between the two genders. Full stop. But you see how the human being messes with this so much to the point they make something so corrupt righteous. It sounds righteous, huh? And it will sit and settle with so many of our young in this time. It will settle with them. Right? They will say, yeah, why not? It's all about love, right? Let people be happy. This is all the words of our time. Huh? Let people be happy. Marry whomever they want to marry. Up to them. Right? It's about happiness. It's about love. It's about embracing everybody the way they are. Oh, sounds so righteous, Mr. Hasdan. But you know it's corrupt. It's corrupt at its core. Right? It's corrupt at its core because there's a complete disregard of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Placing the intellect, and the human being, Allahu alam, our intellect, right? They're placing the human intellect above divine authority, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what Aqidah is. Right? So these kind of things, right? You can't argue with them from a side of morality because they have argued the morality of it. They've argued. Right? It goes back to what? Allah's your creator. At the end of the day, you will die. Like it or not, you will die. At the end of the day, there is the day of judgment. Full stop. And you're not the judge on that day. Nor am I. Allah's the judge. And the judge will judge by the laws that he placed, not by the laws that you placed. Right? The judge has his laws. So in a sense, at the end of the day, the bottom line is what? This. And that stops the human being from making justifications. It stops the human being from pushing their agenda. It stops them because why? At the end of the day, no matter how much someone argues with me about some laws in Islam, at the end of the day, you answer to what you do in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not answering to me, I'm answering to Allah. And I'll answer to him. So if you want to argue your way, go ahead. Right? But in a sense, it does sound very harsh, but in a sense, to stop it is at the point of Aqidah. To stop this kind of, a facade, this kind of a corruption, is at the point of Aqidah. And that starts from a young age. That you ingrain in them a ta'zeem, an aggrandization, an honoring, the exaltation of Allah. Allah said, Allah said, right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there was a Sahaba, one of the hadiths in the Salihin, right? A Sahaba whereby they were speaking about, catapulting. Right? But Islam did not allow for it to catapult. So there's a hadith about catapulting, right? So, and the Sahaba, in the narration said to one of the Tabi'een, people thereafter, Rasulullah did not like it. Didn't like it. Don't catapult. That means don't take a stone and hit a bird. It's not allowed. Right? In Islam, don't do that. Right? So he said to the person, the Rasulullah said he didn't like it, not to do it. And that person still did it. And the Sahabi, he went and came and said, Rasulullah said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, don't you understand? The Prophet said, there is Aqidah. I hear he said something, khalas, stop. I'm not even going to argue, it's easier, it makes more sense, whatever, it's so much cheaper than to go and buy a whatever, like it's so easy to do. There's no room for argument in the Quran. In fact, Allah mentions this also in the Quran. Right? Is it of the meaning? Oh, Sayyidina Muhammad, of the meaning, right? There is it is not for the believer to ask questions after Allah and His Prophet has made the decree, or has made the judgment. Not for you to say anything. Like you keep your mouth shut. But this kind of sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey, goes back to what? Amanna. Right? As we see in Amal Rasul. Right? It begins with Amal Rasul and then it goes sami'na wa ata'na. So right in the ayah at the end of Surah Baqarah, Allah tells us to be able to say we hear and we obey goes back to something in the heart. That whatever it might be, that Allah says, that Rasulullah says, we say one word, we hear and we obey. Right? No question whatsoever. But it goes back to that. And that is a himaya. That's going to be your fortress. In a time when they will justify so, I want to say so well, but it justify so strongly, right, that people will be sucked into this the justification and be convinced. And in fact, people who are seen to have, acquired a lot of the religion, if they have not trained themselves to be able to block this kind of really ugly justification, to see the lies in it, right, the fallacy in it, the falsehood in it, they can't see it. They get sucked right into, as many people in our time have happened to them, especially our youth. And so from very young, because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it, it's true. We will do it. Allah said it, it's true. And it goes back to Aqidah. Tamam. So I'm not sure why I went into that, but it's just to lay out the importance of this. Like what we hope to achieve in these classes, that when you go back to your countries, your families, because every single person, you are responsible. Every single person, because your family is your family, right? And we know of family members will not go to the masjid. They will not go to classes. They won't. My family, friends, relatives, they just won't. And so you are the direct, ambassador, you're the direct, representative of Rasulullah to speak to them, because they're your blood, your family, mashallah. And that's where it gets scary, right? Because you got to speak to your family, your blood, mashallah. Now, so we were at وَبِسَيْنَا مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ نَبِيًّا وَرَسُولًا, right? And I went into all of it, is it? They're going to all of it?
No, the first page.
The first page, tamam. I said meaning of Sayyid, leader of people, or one with many followers. Allahumma salli sayyidina Muhammad. And one many followers, the one whom people turn to for guidance and help, or the one who is well composed in all situations. So I place all the definitions of the word Sayyid. As soon as Sayyid, what does Sayyid mean? Right, Sayyid, first meaning leader. Okay, it's in the book, leader. Second meaning, one with many followers. So anyone with any of these meanings is called a Sayyid in Arabic. Right? Anyone with any of these meanings is called a Sayyid. Rasulullah had all of these meanings. All of these meanings were contained in the person of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Was he a leader? The best of them. And the best leaders sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have many followers, the most followers sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody will compare the number of followers that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. And no other prophet, from Nabi Adam, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had more followers than Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we know this from Isra and Mi'raj. From Isra and Mi'raj, he saw the followers of Nabi Musa, and he was amazed. Then he was told, "Look up, O Muhammad." And he saw a huge mass crowd of human beings, and these are the followers of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So someone will say, but they say that Christianity is the largest religion in the world, right? I mean, they say that, right? But the Christianity that is the largest religion in the world right now, Nabi Isa will claim innocence of them. They're not followers. They aren't. And because on the day of judgment, he will stand and have a hujjah, have an argument against them who claim to love him and made him divine. So he will talk against them. So they're not counted as followers. So even though they say the majority of human beings, I mean, is the fastest growing. Shamsa would say fastest producing. So, no, it's not only growing because he's producing a lot of babies right now. Right, but no, I don't know whether it's growing because of conversion or growing because of reproduction. Right. But not largest not this religion. I think it's the fastest growing. Is the fastest growing. The largest, if I'm not wrong, is Christianity. Yeah, it's Christianity. But what they are holding on to is something that Nabi Isa will be innocent of. So they will not be following Nabi Isa on the day of judgment. They will not. It's mashallah. That's why they comes under the hadith of, the hadith about Rasulullah said, a person is the one whom he loves. In the sharh of that hadith, in the explanation, on condition they have the same aqidah. Right? Because otherwise the Christians will all say, we love Isa and we love Jesus, right? They will all say that, but not on the same aqidah. So in the sharah it is on condition, on the same aqidah. They must be on the same aqidah. They can be together with these people. And it's the same thing about the Ahlul Bayt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? If you want to be together with the Ahlul Bayt, you must be on the same aqidah. Because there are groups that love the Ahlul Bayt a lot. There's something in the aqidah that's not right. So it goes to the aqidah must be the same. The aqidah must be the same. Tamam. Of the people that you love. Right? So followers, yes, he has the most followers from Isra and Mi'raj. We know this. Right? And the one and Rasulullah, he's the last of the prophets to come. Right? But his people, his ummah, will be the first ummah to enter into paradise. Right? And mashallah. And there are many hadiths about the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's of great blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us of his ummah. Nothing from our actions, from our deeds, and nothing deserve being his ummah. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by his ummah will occupy, and I think 2/3 the hadith, 2/3 of paradise, the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. MashaAllah. To the point Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, when he saw, of the castles and the rewards and the land and the whatever in paradise, ni'am, the blessings in paradise, and he would ask, Ya Allah, who are these for? These are for the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To the point he was saying, Musa would say, Ya Allah, make me of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Musa, we have spoken to you, O Musa, may you Kalimullah, when Allah speaks to, and you want to be the ummah of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To show the greatness that Allah has placed the ummah of Islam on the day of judgment, inshallah. It gives us a lot of hope, mashallah. All of this goes back to Aqidah. And this is how, if you feed our young with this kind of words, from a very young age, you feed them this kind of words, right? They can never leave Allah and His Prophet, because leaving the religion, its essence, is leaving Allah and His Prophet, and how can someone leave the one that they love? Like, may Allah protect us, but I can't imagine a life without saying the name Nabi Muhammad. Can you imagine a life? Can't, right? Can you imagine your life not saying his name, not knowing him, not loving him, not, your life revolving around him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Can you imagine that? But that is what it means to leave the religion, to leave him, right? To leave him. Someone who loves, you can't imagine that ever happening at all. Right? It's like you love your mother so much. You can't, even though when she passes away, you will mention her name. You will say Fatiha for her soul. You try to do something. You try your best to do something for them because you love them a lot. And so even if someone's, parent, like the Sahaba, like their parents that pass away, and they don't forget their parents, and the parents who pass away and they are non-Muslim, they're kafir. They can't do anything thereafter, say the Khalid Walid. Father, well known to be a kafir, an enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl. Ikrimah, mashallah, it was so hard on him when he became a Muslim, and people kept calling him the son of Abu Jahl, son of Abu Jahl, to the point of some stop people from doing that. Don't call him the son of Abu Jahl. It hurts him. It hurts him. Why? Because there is, a connection with the parent. There's still a connection. Right, so to leave someone that you're so close to. So if we have established in our young, right, a love and a connection to Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then no matter what they hear in their life, no matter what they're exposed to, they cannot imagine living a life without Allah and being spoken to every day in your life. Every single day we speak to them in our prayers, right? Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Every day we speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At-tahiyyatul mubarakatus salawat tayyibatu lillah. We speak to Him directly, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. It's a direct khitab, direct address to Allah. So someone were to ask you, do you speak to Allah today? Yeah, Fatiha. Right? Do you speak to Rasulullah today? Yeah, Tahiyya. You spoke to him today. You did. Right? And if Allah gives us, ability, you hear His response. Like Alawi bin Adil Ba'alawi, is his name. Right? The one in Zambal, the one's at the back. Right? He's the one who will hear, right, the rad, right, the response. Wa alaikum assalam, ya Sheikh. And people from all over the world will come to Tarim to pray with him just to hear when he says in Tarim, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. People will come and pray near him, and they all can hear the voice of the Prophet. So as I'm saying, wa alaikum assalam, ya Sheikh. They can hear. Some people, oh, mashallah, mashallah. So now, right, so there's a story, I think I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again, of a person. It was mentioned in one of Habib Ali Jafri, I think, one of his classes. He mentioned about a Westerner who told him by himself, who told him the story himself, right, that he was so close to leaving Islam. This person in the West, in the UK, right? Because they had gone to the university, universities, and they learn Islam in universities, and I know of many of the people in the West whereby they will say, do not learn Islam in their universities unless you're under the likes of Sheikh Hamza Yusuf or Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, or I know any of these mashayikh, alhamdulillah, it's Cambridge, right? It's Cambridge and Oxford, right? And then like Sheikh Hamza is Zaituna, right? Zaituna. So, but other universities, right? They will put so much doubt in your heart about Islam. So people enter into religious studies in these universities in the West, right? Wanting to learn about, even in Singapore. I won't say Singapore. Singapore has no religious studies. Singapore has Malay studies. But in the Malay studies, right, there are things being said. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. In the university in Singapore. Right? And of the things that they will say will be things that things like hijab is not wajib. It is so in a sense the non-Muslims who learn all these things, they see us as ignorant of our religion, those who on the hijab, because they are taught, right, the so-called truth. That is all culture and whatsoever. So when they see all the Muslims around putting on the hijab, they see, oh, they're just following culture. It's all culture. Right, inshallah. So it's so hard for us to actually fight for the hijab, because many of them believe it's not part of the religion. So how do you fight, right? When they say it's not wajib. Yes. It all goes back to the feminist movement. Who else is doing all these things? The feminists, right? The feminist movement put forward all these arguments from the Quran. They misinterpret everything in there, right? To make an argument is not wajib. The hijab is not wajib. Allah hawla wala quwwata illa billah. So it's been cause of people who used to wear it, when they hear these arguments, then they leave it. They actually leave it. They have no Islam. It's basically it's exactly that. It's exactly that. There is no sanad. There is no chain of transmission, because chain of transmission gives authority to say what you want to say, because otherwise anyone will say whatever they want to say, right, about the Quran, the Hadith, whatsoever. So in Islam, it is wajib, right? It's compulsory that you take your religion from a human being, right? Not from a book like this. Books are to help you in retain the information, but take it from a human being, human heart to human heart, all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's a lot of secrets in human being teaching human beings. And I see this in children. Of course they can learn, possible they can learn from devices, from videos, from like good kind of like good videos, you see, sirah whatsoever. But it's never the same as a teacher in front of them teaching them about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not the same. A human being with a human being, as opposed to a device with a human being. Even if the information is all correct, it's not heart to heart, right? But there's a block, right? But heart to heart. And one of the mashayikh, in fact, Habib Hussein al-Haddad, he used to be here years ago, mashallah. And those of you who have met him now, mashallah. There's none like him, Habib Hussein. After he passed away, we used to buy a goat's milk from him. My husband would go and he used to buy the Mustafa has his goat's milk. And then if he leaves there long enough in the sun, it becomes yogurt. He sells it, mashallah. And mashallah, Habib Hussein, may Allah have mercy on him. But there was once I was in Tarim, and then he used to stay in one of these houses near the Hadana. Right, on top, right? He was in that apartment. So I happened to go there, some of my friends here at that time, and we sat in front of him, and he was speaking to us, Habib, he speaks of all kinds of things, right? Random, awliya stories comes out of him. Just don't stop him when he's in the hal. Let him talk, inshallah. And then so there was once we were with him in his apartment, and someone asked him, because he was giving us ijaza on a lot of dhikr. And there's dhikr ijaza. And someone asked him, Habib, what's the meaning of ijaza? Right? I mean, you could answer the question in linguistic meaning. Ijaza means I give you permission to do this, or to spread this, or to teach this. It's ijaza. So it basically means permission. Linguistically, ijaza means permission. Right? He responded in a way a wali responds. Wali mastur, it's a hidden wali. He responded by saying, Ijaza is a light that is from my heart into your heart. That's called ijaza. Only a wali says that. They were like, if you ask me, Ustazah, what's ijaza? Ijaza means permission. MashaAllah. I'll give you the linguistic meaning. Right, but a wali will say it's a light. When I give you ijaza, I give you this light that my shaykh put into my heart, I put it into your heart. MashaAllah. But it just got sanad. And sanad ijaza is all from that. It's a light all the way up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who took it from Jibreel, right, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in fact, a lot of it is directly from Allah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Jibreel only was a small percentage through Jibreel. But a lot of it is directly to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And precisely that in these institutions, right, the knowledge they are spreading, there is no light, because light is guidance. There is no sanad. There is no authority. Because in the Quran, Allah says, the Rasulullah say, I call to my Lord. What was it? What's the ayat? بإذنه. The ayat has بإذنه. What ayat? No, the ayat. I need to get the beginning of the ayat, the end of the ayat. If it comes to me, comes to me. But anyway, in the ayat, there is what بإذنه. بإذنه. Right, you know that? Yeah, I'm trying to get the first part of the ayat. It's not coming to me. Right, inshallah, if it comes to me, it comes to me. Right, you know which I'm talking about? بإذنه. When it comes to me, it comes to me. Right, but anyway, in the ayat, right, there is a part where Rasul says to say that you call to the way of your Lord by his permission. And there's a part where it goes, بإذنه, right? So this part in that ayat, بإذنه, inshallah, I'll get the ayat out, right? Whereby it says بإذنه, by Allah's permission, right? This is where we say it is compulsory to have sanad. Because Rasul calls to Allah by Allah's permission. So we say, where do we get the permission to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that is when you link to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So when he taught the Sahaba, right, they have now gotten the permission. And so it's called ijaza, you're permitted, it's permission. So when they teach us tabi'in, it's permission. And tabi'in and so on, permission. And that is why the sanad, or the link to the Ahlul Bayt is the strongest link. Because it's really father to child, all the way down to us. Think about it, Right? It's Rasulullah, Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra, Sayyidina Ali. Them, Sayyidina Al-Hasan Al-Hussein. Sayyidina Al-Hussein, Sayyidina Ali Zain Abidin. Right? So it's father to son. And who takes more care of a student than their very parents? Who's a better teacher to a student than the parents, the sheikh? Right? So the sanad to the family of Rasulullah, the sanad is not just knowledge, it's that. Right? It's father, child all the way. So when we speak to when you hear the Hababas, right, they will always say Sayyidul Walid. Always, every other sentence, Sayyidul Walid, Sayyidul Walid, Sayyidul Walid. Right? My father said this, my father said that, my father. And even the Zahra, the teachers there, is their father. Right? The teacher, or the alim that's there, a lot of them come from mashayikh. It's mashayikh in their lineage. It's father to child. The daughters are trained at the hands of their fathers. Right? So the lineage is not just in the student to teacher, it's father to child. SubhanAllah, right? It makes you feel so, Ya Allah, it's so protected all the way down. So Habib Umar, right? He's taken a lot, right, from Habib Mashhur, of course, from his father, Habib Muhammad bin Salim. Right? Habib Maryam, Habib Aishun, Habib Noor, Habib Muhammad al-Haddar, all the way up, right? Where are they taking it from? And Habib Umar, his mother's side is Habib Ali Mashhur, Habib Abdurrahman Mashhur, right? On the great awliya on his mother's on the mother's side, the grandmother's side. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So this is all you say, sanad. So anyway, I was going to the story about it. So there was this man who was in the West, right? And and basically what happened was that he had gone into one of these universities, right? They was teaching their vision of Islam. right? And they have their own, and they have their agenda. They have their agenda. And when you learn about what they're up to, what's their agenda, you know why they do what they do, right? So they were kind of like, they will water down all the laws, they will remove so much, there is in Islam. And to the point that Muslims who enter sincerely wanting to study Islam, it's an irony, because if you want to study Islam, come somewhere traditional like Tarim, don't go to the West. Come to the where the Ahlul Bayt, the Sanad, where they are. Right? If you go, somewhere else, Allahu Alam was a Sanad. Right? So many of them, they begin to doubt their religion, because so much waswasa, so much whispering. So this man, he was telling his story to Habib Ali Jifri, and he said that he was convinced, right, that Islam was not the correct religion. Convinced. As a Muslim, convinced. And there was something that he got from the university. It's so dangerous, right? So he was really convinced that he was going to leave Islam the next day. And I mentioned this story. I like this story a lot. So he was going to leave Islam the very next day already. So that night, he was going to go to bed, and he was convinced that the next day, khalas, he's going to throw away whatever he had to do with Islam. He's leaving it. That night, it was his habit that his mother instilled in him. And it's without any proof, nor argument, nor whatever. It's just a habit that every night before he sleeps, he does 100 salawat ala Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 100 salawat. Every night, habitual. It's habitual. So since he was a young boy, the mother put it in his hands, say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad 100 times. Right? So, and he would do it, just do it like that as a habit. He can't sleep without doing it. But something his mother gave as a wasiyah, right? She's passed away. So that night, even though that right now he has no belief in Islam, wants to leave Islam, whatever, as his habit, he picked up his his prayer beads. Interesting, right? I mean, he was going to leave his prayer beads in his hand. And he was doing the salawat on Rasulullah as a habit. Not even thinking about it, he was doing it as a habit. Right? Then by the light of the salawat on Rasulullah, he was going to enter into his heart. It occurred to him, how am I doing Allahumma salli ala Muhammad? And tomorrow I'm going to leave Sayyidina Muhammad. It occurred to him, how is this going to happen? I've been doing salawat onto him my entire life, every single night. So you see, the end of the Aqidah, right? It goes back down to love. It goes down to attachment, to connection. Because they will argue what they will argue, and they will twist what they will twist, and they will corrupt what they will corrupt. Right? And not everyone is able to block all that out. For a common person, what do we have? I love Rasulullah. I'm not going to leave him. I don't care what you guys say, right? You wouldn't want to hear the argument. And my grandmother, I'll have mercy on her. So the story goes that the next day he went to a masjid, and he renewed his Islam. And he went to study in the halaqat in the masjid. And that's where you learn your knowledge. In the halaqat, in the masjid, you get your knowledge. And my grandmother, mashallah, my mom would tell us, years ago when they first came, and they began to, in Singapore, when they came, the people that came to speak against a lot of the practices that the Ba'alawi brought to Asia. So Islam came to Asia through the Ba'alawi. The Ba'alawi brought Islam. It's a well-known fact, right? It's the Ba'alawi brought Islam to Asia. They will say it's for trade. Nah. The Ba'alawi, when they see what is in Tarim, they will not leave Tarim except for da'wah. Only da'wah. Trade was a side thing to support themselves. They were doing trade. So they were not in Asia for trade. Come on. Who wants to leave Tarim, right? But they were in Asia for da'wah. That's why they were there. And it's a higher, goal. They left a land like Tarim to go some random, strange land. Wow, da'wah. And the Sahaba left Medina. Some of them left Medina while the Rasul was still in there. Like Sayyidina Mu'az left Medina while Rasul was still in there, knowing by the time he came back, Rasul had passed away by then. He was told by Rasul himself, when you come back, Mu'az, perhaps you go by this masjid of mine, and you go by this grave of mine. Right? And then he says, perhaps, that means yes, it will happen. By the time you come back, Mu'az, you will not find me. So he began to cry, saying, Mu'az, still left. Will you cry? Will you leave with your mother or your grandmother say to you, I'll pass away this year? If you leave now, I'll pass away this year, I know it. All of us will be like, okay, I'm going to stay. in this land. I'm gonna stay around you right now. I'm gonna go anywhere. Right? You won't leave. Sayyidina Muaz was told in his face. He was told as clear as it was. Definitely, by the time you come back, I will not be on this earth. Definitely, without any doubts. So they call Masduq, and the one who is truthful and trustworthy. He said that. Sayyidina Muaz still left, crying, but he still left. Why? Of course, instruction, Rasulullah instruction, and da'wah. Da'wah compelled them, right, for the sake of other human beings. While the Prophet was still alive, he didn't say, Ya Rasulullah, can I stay until you die? And then I'll go and call these people to Islam. He didn't say that. He didn't say this kind of, you could have said that, like, Ya Rasulullah, you're gonna die. Can I just hang around Medina for a while until maybe after you pass away, then I'll go to Yemen and call them to Islam? No such words, Sayyidina Muaz. Sami'na wa ata'na, against the nafs, and it's a pure desire. I want to be by the side of the Prophet. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. This is what da'wah compels people to do. You do these kind of things, inshallah. So anyway, the Hadramis, when they came to Asia, right, they brought the Hadrami with them. Right? So Asia is well known, everywhere in Asia, you'll find people doing it in the masajids, because it's been how many hundreds of years? I don't know how long. 700 years, Islam in Asia. I don't know how long it's been in Asia. Right? To the point in Brunei, they call it they call it Zikr Brunei. It's called Zikr Brunei. They never know who is from, mashallah. Right? There is, when you hear it, yes, Ratib al-Abbas, mashallah. Right? But it's been around for so long, and so with the Maulids, with the everything in Asia, is from the Hadramis came to Asia. Then in the 60s, 70s came, other kinds of talk into Asia, where people began to say, haram, Maulid, haram this, haram that, haram, haram, haram. And it was new, it was very new to the Asians. And a lot of them, quite a number of them got influenced. Said, Nabi never did this, Rasulullah never did this, it's haram to do. And they were going around. And there were people in my family who were influenced by this. My grandmother, will have mercy on her, mashallah. And I hope that we've gotten some of her sir. I never knew this about her, because by the time, I was old enough to know what she's doing, like she was already went into a, like she kind of retreated, into herself, because my grandfather passed away. So in the sense that a woman happens to them, and someone they love so much passed away, they kind of like stop their activities. Her husband, my grandfather, her husband. Right, so, but before he passed away, she was very active in Maulid. She would lead Maulid. She would go to a group. She would go to, zikr and so on. So when her own family members began to speak against it, saying haram, haram, haram on her, right? She, and without any hujjah, any proof whatsoever, she blocked them off. She blocked them off. Why? She loved this. She loved what's in the Maulid. She loved what is being said. She loved the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is what kept her. So even without knowledge, but there was love. She blocked it off, refused to hear what they were saying. And she said, you know what? I'm doing it. Don't care what you guys say. And she went on with the knowledge. She went on. And she said she's seen the nur in it. She said the light in it. So when it comes to Aqidah, they say Aqidah must always be paired with the tasawwuf. You must pair it. Because otherwise the corruptors will corrupt. And they will convince people in a way that is all wrong, but somewhat other convincing. Mashallah. So anyway, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Nabiyya wa Rasula. We spoke about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he is the one whom people turn to for guidance. Yes, in his time, in our time as well. Right, Ya Rasulullah. You can say Ya Rasulullah. Why not? Ya Rasulullah. Right, because he was sent to the happens. It's just transition. Right? If any Muslim were to say death is the end of existence, kafir. That's a kufr. Right? It's like the kafir saying, you know, when we become bones and dust, right, will we come back to life? It didn't even end in the first place, right? When you die, your soul came out, it's still there. And then you go back to your grave and the soul is brought down to your body and you'll be asked, is it jisman wa ruhan in the Aqidah books? Jisman wa ruhan, by your jism, by your physical body and by your ruh, you'll be you. And the angels will come and ask you the questions. So anyone who says you can't speak to Rasulullah, do they even believe in the barzakh? Do they not know there's life after death? Are they unaware? Right? Every Muslim must believe in this. You must believe that there is some life after death, because our Prophet ﷺ said that your grave is a garden of paradise or a pit of the hellfire. If he said that and he taught us a dua, Allahumma inni a'udhuka min azab al-qabr. Just that dua itself is dalil, right? Oh Allah, I seek your protection from the punishment of the grave. If he's nothing in the grave, then why is this dua there? Right? I mean, so much proof all around us. And yet they say, oh, you can't ask the Prophet. You can't ask him to dua for you. You can't go and say, Ya Rasulullah. Why not? You go to your mother and say, Ya Ummi. Right? I mean, that's not wrong. Right? You can speak. You can hear. In fact, another hadith, Rasulullah, when he went to Baqi' and he spoke to people in the graves. And he said, do you find what Allah has promised to be true? He spoke to them. And the Sahaba, they were amazed. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, can they hear us? Hadith or hadith? That's what can they hear us. They can hear me as well as you hear me. But you can't hear them. And in fact, another narration, that all the animals can hear, except Bani Adam. We can't hear them, what's going on in there. If we hear, I think we'd be all tawbah. We're all like repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe in Tarim, you're like, oh mashallah, they're all in the su'ada. In Tarim, they're all blissful. Maybe in our own countries, we hear horrors and screaming and shouting, Allahu A'lam. But in Tarim, that's not the awliya. There was one of the awliya was reading an ayat, you know, وَمِنْهُمْ سُعَدَاء وَمِنْهُمْ أَشْقِيَاء or شَقِيَّ وَسَعِيدٌ. There's an ayat, but some of them in the graves, they are blissful and some of them are wretched. And he was repeating this ayat over and over again as he was walking through the graves. And then he heard a voice from inside. He said that, you know, go, get away from us. All of us are Sa'id. You're talking about somebody else. You know, in Tarim, there's no ashqiya, there's no shaqi, there's no wretched person amongst us. You're all Sa'id. So bring your verse somewhere else. You know, mashallah. There was someone when it's awliya stories. But so inshallah, remember we're there, okay? We're here. Right. So inshallah, so people turn for guidance in our time, yes. Because why? He is our prophet. He is our prophet. No one is to deny us of direct access to our prophet. He is our prophet. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha and Allah jalla wa ala. Wal a'mal akhwaz al-islam wa yusr bi qawli Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam min shaykhina wa zawil alayna wa ila hadat nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Fatiha.